Hi, folks. My name is Wayne O'Connor. I'm from Sligo Game Society, and we're just doing another one of our little video chats, one of our little kind of informal little conversations. Today, we've got two of our club members here, and we're going to be talking about kind of a selection of their favorite games. So, without further ado, I will allow both of the guys here to introduce themselves. So, I'll jump over to Colm, if you might just introduce yourself, maybe what you do, or what type of gaming you like in general.
Yeah, I'm Colin McFadden. I'm more of a Euro gamer, board gamer. I originally got into the game by CCGs though, back in like the mid 90s, and then I probably tried everything really, LARP and role playing, but
Oh, yeah.
mostly it was originally CCGs. But I'm more of a board gamer now. I can't really get in. It's too time consuming to play one game, and there's so many good games out these days. Board gaming, it's got everything really these
I've I've,
days.
I've actually I've done every type of gaming. I'm not done LARPing. Still have to.
Really,
Yeah, and I've just
we're wellies.
yeah, never appealed to me. And then we've also got James. So James, you just introduce yourself.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm James. So I've been a part of the Sligo Game Society now back when
You're
it
a
was the
baby,
it
James.
was the Flat Earth Game Society back when we were in St. Anne's. So
That's
yeah,
right.
since about
Wow.
2003 when I started playing Magic and kind of went on to like Catan, Dead of Winter. I think Dead of Winter and the Resistance were like the two games that kind of brought me into tabletop gaming.
Is Resistance that old? Is it? Wow.
Yeah, I think it's like 2010, 2011.
Oh
It was
wow.
around the same
Okay.
time. I think Dead of Winter and Resistance came out very similar time, and that was kind of I was like, wow, because I think video gaming is like my first love,
Mhm.
and that was kind of my entrance into board gaming. And now I love board gaming, so I play any board game.
Cool. Cool. Okay. So basically, the way we're going to work this is I've asked the two guys if they would basically show us their kind of current three favorite games, which is a hard thing sometimes. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump between both of the guys. So, Colin, I'm going to throw you in the headlights of this one.
Yeah,
Could
I mean
you
it's
tell us your
difficult.
first choice, please?
Yeah, it's difficult to choose any game. I mean, I choose from games I own, which at the moment I suppose I've been playing the most is Dune Imperium. Oh,
Oh,
I can't even see
oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Here we
sorry.
go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll add in something later on. Dune Imperium.
Imperium, yeah.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it's a worker placement and a deck builder
I
essentially.
I ha if it's the same one I'm thinking of, because there's so many Dune games at the moment. I've
Yeah.
just played this recently. Is it
Ah,
like
cool.
it's a worker placement one? Yeah, yeah, and deck building. Yes, I've just played it
Essentially.
recently, and I
Ah,
really liked
great.
it. Really
Great. Yeah,
liked
no,
it.
it's really good. Um, I think it's an interesting one because it's I buy when I buy a lot of games at the moment, especially in the last year and a half, as you know, I've been buying games that can play solo. So you can play it solo this one, which is great. And I have played it solo, and I found the solo mode was excellent. It
Hmm.
actually was really simple. You just flip over a card, um, and it works. But essentially, and that's part of the reason why I bought it. I bought it because I could play it solo. The solo mode is excellent on it. But basically, it's a worker placement. So there's another worker placement that came out roughly the similar. The worker placement deck builder came out at the same time. Lost Ruins of Arnak, and it's got the same amount of buzz. But this is the one I got in the end.
It's funny
Um,
you say because I played this with one of the other guys, another Wayne, and they had played it. He played it solo, and same thing, loved it. Then
mm,
apparently he played the two-player game, and he didn't like it at all. He says
mm,
it's not very good at all. He
no,
says, and there's an AI thing. And he says it and says it's not really integrated very well at all. And then the day that he came over, it was a three-player, a proper three-player, and we loved it. We thought again it was really good.
yeah,
So it, I mean,
it's
some games that's the way it is. Some work
it's
with a particular number really nice, and then derail when you have too many or too few or whatever.
yeah, it's an interesting one because you would. I mean, most worker placements, okay, they don't shine. They shine at the higher numbers at 3, 4 players. It's great to have a solo mode. Definitely wouldn't play as a two-player game because you use the deck. Yeah, absolutely. It kind of it didn't really. It's very clunky, but the game itself with 3, 4 players and as a solo game was excellent and was quite challenging as a solo mode. As a three-player game, obviously you're competing over the planet of Arrakis. You've got certain locations which are combat locations, and some which aren't. And you've got like the four different factions you're trying to influence,
Mhm.
and you only start off with two workers, which is really quite stingy in a worker placement game. When you think about it, and the deck building part of it is actually quite small. So is it a worker placement or is it a deck builder? It's kind of not much of a either really. The thing about it, at the end of it, you have a thing with the conflict. You can put your like chips or your soldiers into a conflict, and I found that was the thing. At the end of every round, there was a conflict. I found that was the competition over the conflicts is what really gave it the edge. You know, I thought it was excellent. I mean, it's quite. It doesn't have the best graphics to it, I don't think, but as
No,
a conflict, as an
I was
interactive game, as a worker place interactive game, it was quite good.
I was about to say that visually, I didn't think it was that amazing, but I actually thought the game was really nice. And if I recall, our 3-player game it's not an epic. It's not like I'll be sitting there for many hours. I mean, we got a 3-player game in. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it might have been an hour and a half, 2 hours. Would that be?
It's quite quick.
That
Yeah,
sound
it's
about
probably.
right, yeah.
I mean, if you're not doing a rules explanation, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And this is directly tied. This is associated. Is this
with
graphically?
the
It's not
film.
tied into the movie. Is it? It's not using film.
It is no, it's direct. It's tied with the movie. I've got the part, but basically, they're art of all the actors in the movie.
From this.
They're
Sorry.
like, you know,
It's
Eyes
not
acting over
stills
it.
though, right? It's like it
No,
is
it's-
art.
It's
It is
art.
art.
Yeah.
It's art of the characters in the movie.
Yeah.
And there's other bits. I don't believe I haven't actually seen the movie because I already read all the books and I've watched the old movie. I actually like the
Oh.
original David Lynch film personally, you know, especially the director's cut.
Yeah.
The original cut was rubbish, let's be honest, but the director's cut was quite good. But I've read all the books anyway, so I don't need to know the story. I wasn't in a rush to go out and see it.
Prior to this conversation, folks, we were having pretty much kind of a movie podcast. We're going back to that movie podcast
But-
now for a second, but I get you to read, yeah.
Yeah. But it's it's good. I really enjoyed it. It's unfortunately it's not good as a 2-player game.
No.
It's better but it's good. It works at solo, and I've played a lot of stuff solo. At the moment.
And just before I jump over to James, would you put it down? I have my own opinion, but I'm asking you: would you see this as a good intro game for new players or people who aren't familiar with these types of games, or would you think it's a bit of a hard learning curve?
I think it might be a bit of a learning curve. I don't think it's that heavy a game. It's quite interactive because you're competing over the conflict spaces. You're competing over over the rewards, and you're trying not to be last. So there's a lot of the worker spaces. Yeah. You're competing over the cards to buy. So there's a lot of competition in game. I wouldn't say it's a take that sort of a game, but there's a lot of interaction compared to a lot more Euro games. Maybe a lot of them are like multiplayer solo. But this is quite a lot involved in it. And you don't score. Points are very hard to come by in this game. It's a bit like Alien Frontiers, where you don't get very many points, you know, like 10, 11 points is a lot.
But it's not too expensive either. Is it?
No, it wasn't. Actually, I think the expansion is about the same price as the base game, strangely enough. House of X is roughly the same price. Yeah. But
there's already an expansion for it, is there?
Yeah, House of X.
I thought okay, so new. Yeah. Okay,
new. Yeah.
We'll jump over to James there now. So James,
just jumping on the back of, I think Dune Imperium is probably the game I'm most desperate to play at the moment. That and Beyond the Sun are like the two games where I'm like, this is what I want to play next. It's a good choice.
Yeah.
So my game, the first game I selected, actually, I think I played it last game's night with Colm. So Colm should be fairly familiar with it. But yeah, it's the Isle of Cats. And when Wayne asked me to pick some games, I think the first thing that I thought of was regularly when we go to games night, we have a lot of people and people don't generally like to split up into groups. So I kind of wanted to pick games that played more than 4. So everything I've picked is either 5 or 6 people, and it plays it quick too. So yeah, Isle of Cats plays up to 6 people, and it plays it. I haven't played 6. I played 5 once. It came out just before the pandemic, so I think I got to play it like 2 or 3 times, and then literally didn't play it for a year and a half.
So what's the team? Cats?
Yeah.
What's
so
the
basically,
goal?
what you have is every player is a board. I don't know if you're familiar with like Patchwork or Barren Park.
Yeah.
So it's like so every player has like this kind of a board, and you have a boat. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to rescue these cats, and they're like polyomino pieces.
Okay.
So they're all like Tetris pieces. And basically what you're doing is players are like drafting these cards, and then you're then pulling these cats out of a bag, and then you're drafting the polyomino cat pieces and you're bringing them to your boat. And then things like the color of the cat, how many cats are adjacent to each other. There's lots of different like ways of scoring points and stuff. So It's a very kind of satisfying puzzle.
Are you scoring as you play, or is it a kind of a final tally, or is there a mix?
Yeah, no, it's just you just score it at the very end of the game. So you don't really know how anyone is doing. You can look at other people's boards and you can kind of see, oh, they're trying to build up a family of green cats. So yeah.
Yeah, and that was my next one. I mean, is there much interaction in regards? Can you mess up their board?
There's not really there's not a lot of direct interaction. The interaction really from the game comes from the cats get pulled out of the bag and there's only a certain amount. It depends on the player count. And there's sometimes you could have 5 or 6 purple cats might come out and there may be no blue cats. Mm-hmm. And there might be a player who needs blue cats or a player who needs green cats or whatever. And you can kind of look on. It's kind of got that a Zool thing where you're looking at other people's boards and you're like, how can I mess this person up the most? So there is a lot of that.
You're not like that. Yeah, we're friendly. Gamers are friendly. We don't try to mess up.
I think the thing about Isle of Cats that I enjoy actually the most is that it's not just a polynomial, but to start off the game, it's almost like 2 games because you have the drafting at the beginning of it and every round. And that's the thing I really enjoy about the drafting.
It's good.
Yeah, it's a bit like Blood Rage and all the kind of drafting games. That's a huge part of the game. If you're good at drafting, if you know Magic the Gathering, you like drafting. Actually, I want to play Magic the Gathering draft just because I've been playing this game with James recently, actually. And then you've got the polynomial bit, which is, it's just a lot of fun.
It's that puzzle aspect, I think, of you're trying to fit them on the boat, but you're also the color of the cat matters. And there's treasure things you can collect and there's rats on the boat that you have to cover up. So there's a lot of things you have to keep in mind when you're placing the cats. And then the draft beforehand, you have to think to yourself, okay, I only have a certain amount of fish and I can only bring so many cats back. There's a lot of that.
And I mean, I'm going to be asking probably the same sort of questions a lot here, but again, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you're saying going on. Is this newbie friendly? Is it friendly for new players? Would it be easy to explain the basics, or?
I think if someone is familiar with Patchwork or Baron Park, I don't think it's a big step up from that. It's certainly not like Feast for Odin. It's not super duper complicated. I don't think it's very noob friendly. But I think anyone who's kind of maybe played some basic games, I don't think it's that big of a jump. It's not huge.
Okay. And it's not too expensive again, is it?
No, it's medium price. Yeah, probably 40, 50 or something, which is medium now for a board game. So
perfect. So it's all running very smoothly, guys. We'll go back to, and this is the bit where the whole thing explodes. We're going to go back to Colm. Colm, what's your second choice?
Well, as games that I've been playing solo, again, I've been buying games that I can play solo, and I was going to buy Isle of Cats, but it didn't have a solo mode. So I ended up getting Jaws of the Lion instead. Mode.
Oh, yes.
Jaws of the Lion instead.
Another one I've just played. Actually, the same night I played Dune, the lads brought over that, so I got to play it. Anyway, yes. Tell us
I mean, Isle of Cats is a fantastic game, and I've played it on Board Game Arena a number of times. I haven't played Jaws of the Lion, but I hadn't actually played Gloomhaven until I played Jaws of the Lion, and it's a really good way of learning how to play the game.
So gives a lowdown. What is Gloomhaven? What is Gloomhaven? Jaws of the Lion?
Gloomhaven is the number 1 ranked game on Board Game Geek. It's got a bit of a cult following. Anybody who's into board gaming or gaming probably has heard of Gloomhaven. It's a dungeon crawler. You're controlling a character, and you have a deck of cards instead of having in a Fantasy Flight game like Descent where you have a number of actions to play. You do have that in Gloomhaven as well, but where you just choose whatever actions you want to play. You get 2 actions every turn, but they're determined on the cards that you draw from your hand to play that turn. So you have a deck of cards. When you play a deck of cards, so you can play a deck of cards that go in the discard pile, or you can burn them to get some cards have got a much more powerful effect. So you could burn the card, which unfortunately means you don't have those cards when it cycles through the next time to play more, but you get a really powerful effect. So it might be useful for a boss or something, whatever.
But isn't part of the thing there, because I've been playing it. I played the board game, as I said, just recently, but I also played the digital version of the main in game. Isn't it correct that as you burn cards, you're getting rid of cards, you're effectively weakening down your options and your deck a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so you don't have as much to cycle through the next time. So, I mean, every time you are run out of cards, you have to burn a card, essentially lose a card. You can either rest or whatever, short rest, long rest, they call it. But I won't get into the technicalities of the game. You have to burn a card essentially from your deck. It's gone from the game, and you've only got a finite number of cards, and then you've only got a finite number of turns you can use it. But essentially, it's a dungeon crawler. Like, a dungeon crawler is you run around dungeon, killing things, beating, picking up treasure. Very much loads of that. But the choice of the cards, the drafting of the cards, and also there's other story elements in Gloomhaven that make it quite interesting, quite unique, is that you have every character has a personal goal. You don't have that so much in Jaws of the Lion, but you do have scenario goals where you might have a particular thing where you have to do a particular thing to get what they call a perk. You have a modifier deck. Instead of rolling dice, you have a modifier deck, and that will determine whether you get a good roll or whether you get a good attack or a bad attack or whatever.
But the thing isn't like Gloomhaven is this monster box. If anyone has it, huge, it's a huge box, huge price too, pretty big, steep price. There's a lot of content in it, but a lot of stuff to move. Whereas Jaws of the Lion came out and it's not really Gloomhaven light, because it's still a lot of the main rules. They've dumped one or two things. I wasn't even familiar. Like, I think you said it to me recently. They don't one or two things. Goals, yeah. So it's a lot more accessible in terms of cost and in terms of setup and everything, isn't it? Because they also have isn't the board the book? So that's
right. Yeah,
they're always great. It's like, here's it, open the book, there's your board.
Lots of games are doing that. I've done that. But yeah, I mean, the thing that was great for me, I'm glad I bought that. I must admit, I've been keen to play. Actually, I've played Gloomhaven since then. I've got running on campaign run at the moment. But it was so easy to learn the rules with that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of admin. I was playing 2 characters solo, and there's still a lot of admin, especially when you play it for the first time. But it starts with the first scenario. It doesn't tell you about a lot of other stuff. It tells you on the second scenario, and then the third, and the fourth, and the fifth.
I actually like that. The guys when we played, that's one thing that the other Wayne did actually say, that he said it has a really nicely thought out entry to the game in terms of the scenarios.
Yeah,
drip feed you the rules, and you're gradually getting a bit more options and stuff before you get hit with everything. So along that lines, would you think it is actually something newbie friendly? I keep on using the term, it's just a term, but
if you want to learn Gloomhaven, I would get that first. I would get Jaws of the Lion first. Absolutely. It's cheaper for one. If you buy the full game of Gloomhaven, you have to learn all the rules before you can really start playing. That's a hell of an undertaking. It's a lot of rules in the game, and
there is a bit of complexity in this. But I actually think it's really I'd heard so much about Gloomhaven that when I finally got to play, like I said, I played the digital version, and I had the beta or whatever for ages, and then finally they released a full campaign recently, and I began playing it a bit properly, and it really struck me. This is very clever, because as you're saying about the cards, but if you use one card, you only get to use the top part, which means the other card you get to use the bottom part, and it's sometimes trying to find the right combination that helps you in the turn. Plus, then you have to watch where the initiative is. I have to pick this one first, or else I'm gonna So there's a lot of. I thought it was very clever.
I mean, playing the digital version of I would certainly, if I was playing Gloomhaven, I would play the digital one first to learn the game. If you really want to learn it, I can't wait to try all the other characters. Yeah. But I'm really impressed with it, and also the characters in Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, you can bring into Gloomhaven. You can play them in. Yeah, so the decks and everything apparently you can.
And there is another Frosthaven. Is that the one that's coming out?
Yeah, that was kickstarted. It'll be, I don't know when the fulfillment is on that. I assume it's next year.
But that's more of the big box again.
Yeah, that's like normal Gloomhaven. Yeah,
normal Gloomhaven. All right, we'll go over to James then for option number 2 from Mr.
Yeah, the thought of playing Gloomhaven, I think, is incredibly overwhelming to some people, myself included. Everyone sees like the number 1 game, and they're like, "Well, I should play the number 1 game," but it's a big game. Can you just jump in and out of Jaws of the Lion? Like, it's not like camp. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's it also it lends itself well to adding players in and jumping in and out. I've recently played Near and Far, and that's very similar. You can jump players in and not jump players out, and that's also played on the book as well. Actually, strange enough, as well. But it's a little bit easier than
Okay.
Gloomhaven. I'm not saying Jaws of the Lion doesn't skimp on the rules compared to Gloomhaven, but it allows you to not have to learn all the rules at one time, and you can get playing straight away. And if you want to learn, I would get Gloomhaven and Jaws of the Lion over Gloomhaven.
I hear that's a general consensus from a lot of people about it, is like Jaws of the Lion is a really nice intro to that before you commit to the big box. And I think there's crack with that big box. I remember when it came out initially, the amount of things about people spending so long punching all the different elements and organizing the thing before they never played the game at all. There was literally posts going up, people just kind of going, I've just spent a day getting this ready, and there's like so many bits. And then I imagine, like as you said, Gloomhaven kind of just thrusts you into it. But like I assume that it's like, I have to find that bit, and where's that particular character for the anyway.
I can see myself buying Gloomhaven after finishing this though, and probably Frosthaven as well.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. I really enjoy it. James, option number two.
So my second game is, I don't think either of you have ever played it, and I imagine not very many people have. It's not a very common game, but it's one I really love, and I played it a lot at games night, and everyone who's played it really enjoys it. And it's called The Big Score. And it's really, really good game. It's a heist, so you're all heisters. And much like Isle of Cats, the previous game, it also plays up to 6 people. It plays it very quick too, like 45 minutes. It'll play 6 people. And it's like Isle of Cats as well, in that there's 2 parts of the game. So the first part is a draft, and then the second part is like the big heist. So the first part, the first like half of the game, I guess, is a card draft where everyone's drafting these like members. There's like driver and greaser and muscle and things like that, and players are drafting these crew members to join their heist. And then in secret, people, like, there's heists out on the board that you can do. There's like bank jobs and stadium jobs and things like that. And in secret, players like put their crew members on heists, and there's you get, if you're successful, everyone's successful together, but if you fail, there's penalties for failing. And it's that part of the game is quite fun, but I think the second half is what everyone loves when they play the game, because the second half of the game is literally just like, there's this like piece, it's like 3D piece that holds all the tokens. It's like the Centennial City Bank or something it's called. And there's a bunch of tokens in the bag, in the bank itself, and some of them are police, and then some of them are like huge rewards, gold or money or whatever it is, diamonds. And it's a push your luck game essentially. So if you're familiar with like Quedlinburg or something, it's literally just like people are taking their turns going into the bank, and you're risking, because you can stop whenever you want. You can stop whenever you want.
Push your luck game. We never
and run and hide with your money. But if you get caught and the police catch you, you lose everything. Yeah. And it's one of those games. It's kind of like Quedlinburg, where like everyone is egging each other on, where it's like, yeah, keep going. You won't bust it up. Honestly, it's a great game. I think everyone who's ever played it with me, I think has really enjoyed it, and it's a shame that not many people have even heard of it.
So there's a thing that it isn't maybe as known. I'm aware of it now, but where's your easiest place maybe to chase it up if you are interested? Amazon?
I don't know. I'm sure like most board game. I remember like, I think last year there was like Black Friday places selling it for like 15-20 quid.
Oh, it's nothing.
Like they're just like almost nothing. I backed it on Kickstarter years ago, which is how I got it. But I think it is a retail game. You should be able to still get it. Maybe.
Okay.
It might not be in every shop, but you should be able to get it. It's a fantastic game. 45 minutes, 6 people. I think it's best with more people. And I know you were asking about games that are like newbie friendly. This one is like one step up from party game. It's very, very simple.
Perfect.
Like, I think you can teach anyone this game, and they'll have a great time.
And the art and all looks very like,
even
with the team, it looks kind of
it's got these kind of like cartoony kind of
Like something like Spyfall. Looks like the same.
And it comes with, I don't think the retail version comes with them, but it comes with these poker chips.
Okay,
that's nice.
Like
very nice.
So in the first half of the game, if you go on a heist and you're missing a crew member, people can decide to put in their wild card, unless you're playing with Roden, in which case he'll never use it.
I'll edit this bit. Sorry, Roden.
But yeah, it's people love like the poker chips in the game. It's one of like the big kind of, it's like when you're playing Splendor, everyone's like, ooh, the poker chips.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah,
People just like the nice pieces, you know. But it's honestly, it's a great game, and I'd recommend.
You're chiming all this the right things you said. The drafting, which I said I enjoyed, and the push your luck bit, like Can't Stop and Quacks and Quedlinburg, I really enjoy those too. And now you're talking about, it sounds like you're really hitting the spot with it. Sounds like a really good one. Splendor. I really like that tactile feel. The pieces. Yeah,
and the end of the game, everyone's score is like 1.4 million, 1.2 million, and it's like, it's not like a Euro game where it's 40 to 36. It's very thematic, like,
Yeah. You feel you've earned it.
Yeah, the 100. You definitely do. It's a lot of fun. I love it. I think it's great.
Sounds like a good night game for a game night.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah. Okay, so Colm, wow, we're flying. Well, watching the time. So back to you. Third option. What have you got first?
Well, this one again has a solo mode, and is the reason I've got it. And I kicked back on Kickstarter earlier this year, and it came in really quickly. Was Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition.
Oh, so now this is different, is it? Okay.
This is the card game of the card game version of it. It's basically Race to the Galaxy meets Terraforming Mars. That's the best way to explain it. If you've played either of those two games, that's basically what it is. But it's a little bit easier, I think, than Race to the Galaxy. I think Race to the Galaxy's got quite a lot of icon-driven stuff, and it's kind of better explained. It's quite a much more colorful, the cards as well, than the original Terraforming Mars board game.
Do you want to show us? You're gonna maybe open it up and give us.
Yeah, hold on. I have to get the components.
Yeah.
So, well, this
basically like it's you're trying to achieve a point score on this, isn't it? If I remember.
You're trying to terraform Mars.
Yes. So you're adding oxygen and.
Yeah. So you got the tracker. You got like having the original game. You don't have as many boards to fill in. Mm-hmm. But you start off with, you get a corporation card like in the original one. So like there's some of the corporation cards.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get them in the original. You can choose those. But then you got these project cards, and these are now basically.
This is just before I'm looking at. I remember something that I think I wasn't too bad at, but I heard there was some grumbling over the original Terraforming Mars board game. The art quality was so some were like photographs and random, and some bland.
Bland,
and
yes.
Some of it was
quite
really
bland.
nice, and then some of it was. Is this what route did they take with these ones?
These are much more colorful.
Yeah.
So like you've got comets coming into Earth, not Earth, obviously Mars, coming into land and stuff like that. I'll see if I can. Here's one. So this is you've got 3 different types of cards. It's basically that's all you've got. The 3 different types of cards. You've got so you have your, what do they call these again? These are the sort of production cards. Whoops, I don't even see that.
Yeah.
No, turn off the background filter.
Yeah.
Whatever. Production filter, whatever. That.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you've got
move.
Still hands.
Oh yeah.
And those are it's a whales. I can't even remember what card says. It's background on my screen. But that's like that has an effect during phases. So you have 5 different phases, and these cards can be played in different phases. So you have that's like an event, like sort of a single event thing.
So what you're showing me there, it looks a little bit more coherent graphically on the cards. It looks a bit.
Yeah. So it's quite icon driven, just as much as the original game was. It's a lot about combos and buying a lot of the same icons.
And does it fully simulate the stuff that's in the board game, or does it get rid of any? I mean, I'm not without getting into everything, but like, is it kind of a light version of terraforming as well, or is it just?
You don't have the same. You don't have the money and you don't have the energy, and you don't have all the chips that you had for like the energy and what was the other stuff?
Well, the map is the main thing that's missing, though, right? Like that's the big part of terraforming Mars.
Yeah, that's true. This is a much smaller map. I mean, it's still a map. You've still got the score tracker. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've got these these are oceans and things. You have to flip them over. So in order to complete the game, you have to flip 12 oceans and obviously get to the top of both of the other tracks, the heat and the oxygen tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 5 different phases in the game. The only thing you have to keep, you have a sort of a player board to keep track of your production. I don't know if I see that. Oh, man, I probably should have switched off the background, but anyway. So you got like coins. This man. We'll actually turn off the background.
He's going to turn off the background, folk. We're going to see what's in the message.
Oh no, you don't want that.
No.
Oh, that would spoil Santa's mystery. Curtains and stuff. So you got like coins, and you got your heat, and you got your plants, and then these are steel, and I can't remember what the other one's called. It's like orbital something or other, resource or something. I can't remember what it's called.
You know now for the remainder of the call, I'm going to make you show components all the time.
Well, fine, no problem. But but yeah, it's the good thing about it is it's I think it's easier to get into than the original board game. It doesn't have as much to track. I do think it's. I also find it easier to learn than Race to the Galaxy. So I do think it's a better game and easier to get on the table. It's going to be easier to play than the original, either Race to the Galaxy or.
And it's easy enough to get this. This is fairly popular enough. Terraform was big.
Yeah, I imagine. So it's a Stronghold game. So
it's pretty new, but I think it's very available.
I got it on the Kickstarter, and I only got like the base game because I didn't really
Stronghold.
think I needed to buy all the other expansions.
They're Polish guys, Polish company, I think.
Stronghold?
Yeah, I think they're a Polish company. I think they did what's the other game I have?
They've done a load of other games.
Might be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think they're American, aren't they? But anyway, but doesn't matter. That's neither here there. You're thinking of Frixis. Wasn't that what your company you're thinking of? The original, Frix games.
Yeah,
that's
Jacob Frixelius.
That's what you're thinking of, yes. Yeah, sorry, not the publisher as such, but the designers. Yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. I wasn't aware of that one myself. Actually, as a card game, I wasn't aware of that. So James, back to you. Number 3. Wow.
Yeah, I love Terraforming Mars. I think it's a great game, and I've always wanted to play it with a real graphic design. So Ares Expedition, I think, is kind of one. I think I'd really like. Yeah. No, I know Colm was saying things about solo. Both the Big Score and Isle of Cats have solo mode.
They do, yeah.
Isle of Cats might be so. I don't know if it's solo base box, but Big Score definitely has solo, and the solo is very fun too.
Okay. When I looked at Isle of Cats, I was like, oh, BGG was saying like 2 to 5. I love Isle of Cats. I think it's a fantastic game. But I really wanted to get it. But yeah, I believe since then I actually found out it does have a solo mode. There's a solo variant, or I don't know if it's
becoming the thing. If they can at all, they try include, because years ago the whole thing solo game, that's madness. I wouldn't, but now it's gone the other way. I mean, and I think particularly
my favorite game you couldn't even play with 2 players. That was Puerto Rico. You have to have 3 players to play that until they reduced the 2-player version, which isn't as good, inferior, I think. But anyway.
Yeah. Sure. James, what's your third one?
Yeah, so my third one, you cannot play solo, as far as I'm aware. But it does play up to 5. I'm not sure. Maybe Colm has played it, but I don't think you've played it, Wayne. And speaking of Puerto Rico and Race for the Galaxy, my pick is New Frontiers.
Yeah, I played it on the Alpha on Board Game Arena.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
So New Frontiers is like, have you ever wanted to play Race for the Galaxy, but you don't have a degree in hieroglyphics?
Pretty much.
New Frontiers is the game for you. I the easiest way to explain it is it's the board game version of Race for the Galaxy. And if like Race is the card game, Roll is the dice game, New Frontiers is the board game. So it's all about empire building, and you're exploring planets, you're colonizing these worlds either through military or money. I don't know how the thematic reasoning is behind that, but you're producing resources, you're buying developments. It's
So is there an actual board? Is there minis? Is there an actual space map?
What
differentiates it from the others?
So there's no map. You have I don't have one on me, but you have a player mat. And the player mat has like your home world on it. Everyone's home world is unique. They're not super powerful. They just kind of push you in a certain direction at the start. So everyone has like their own player mat, where like you can put these, like there's like these planets that you get.
And oh yeah, sorry.
So there's like these planets.
Cool.
that have kind of all the kind of race for the galaxy kind of stuff on them, and you're exploring these planets, and it's a very kind of straightforward Euro game. But it's one I think it's such a tight experience. It's got that if you've ever played Puerto Rico or Twilight Imperium, it's got that like action selection mechanic where one person picks the action, but everyone gets the action, but the person who picked it gets something special for picking the action. And it's just, I love that mechanic, and it works really, really well here. And I think one of my favorite parts of it in New Frontiers is you want to pick actions in a certain way that kind of messes up people the most. And you're kind of in a situation where you're like, oh, I really need to settle a planet here, but everyone else can at the same time, and someone else will do it later, so I'll let them do it, but I'll develop now. And it's got that. It's a very tight game. It's very fun. The actions are great. So if you're familiar kind of with that Puerto Rico Twilight Imperium,
can you pre-plan your move pretty well, or are you reacting a lot? I mean, it's going to come to your turn, there's going to be a lot of AP.
There can be a little AP because you can't really plan, because it has that, there's like 7 actions that can be selected. So there's like explore, settle, develop, produce, trade. And when you pick one of the actions, everyone does it. And then when it's the next person's turn, they'll pick a different action that hasn't already been selected. So you don't know what they're going to pick. So you can't really plan in that sense. You can plan in the sense of like, in X amount of turns, I want to settle this planet or whatever. And you will eventually, because everyone has to settle planets to finish the game. So there is a little bit, I would say it's not a great game, I think, at high player counts for like new people, because it will take a while. But I think when everyone's familiar, it moves along very quick.
Now, what kind of time are you looking at?
The box says 45 to 75 minutes.
Never believe the box.
That's I would say
2 hours.
You would not play a 5-player game in 75 minutes. Like, not a chance. Yeah, you're probably looking at an hour and a half with a large player count. But if everyone knows the game, it can go very quick too. So it's not too bad.
And it's kind of readily accessible. I mean, there's another
game, definitely. Yeah. You can
been out a long while, hasn't it? Not sure how long when it came out.
Yeah, 2017, 2016, maybe. I think it came out. It's a great game, and the main reason I picked it is because Pedro didn't pick Race for the Galaxy when he was on. So,
Pedro.
So
two candidates for that, in fairness, today. So well.
So I wanted to pick New Frontiers because it's the version of the game I prefer the most.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I agree with that. I preferred it to Race to the Galaxy, although I do like Race to the Galaxy as well. I found it easier to get into. I found it easier to get into New Frontiers
because there's things written on the board.
Pretty much. It's like you don't have to diamond do again. I don't know.
You don't have to decipher any code to figure out what you're doing to play this game.
Pretty much, yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gone to the top 3 from everyone here now, but at this point we're going to do one last thing. So basically, I'm going to ask you, is there a game that's coming out, or a game that you haven't included today that you haven't got to play yourself yet? Is there one that you have an eye on? Colm, anything you want to tell people to keep an eye on, or what's coming up?
Look, there's so many good games these days. I only kind of go back into board game in the last couple of years, to be honest. I've been kind of out of the hobby for a few years, but with having a family and that, I hadn't been playing that much. But just, I mean, the quality of board games at the moment is it's phenomenal. It really is. There was a game that I don't think it won Spiel des Jahres this year, but it should have. I think it should have, and I would love to play it. And I played the online taster online. It was Macro Crime City. I really want to play that. I want to get a copy of it because I think it's a game you've been asking for, games that basically anybody can play. Absolutely 100% this game. It's like Where's Wally with the sort of a crime field murder mystery kind of thing going on.
Okay.
It's great.
You've sold it.
Oh yeah, it's like a co-op. Where's Wally essentially? You've got this big sort of map, it's not colored or anything. It's a line drawn. It's a cartoon map, and you've got to flip over these cards and say, there's somebody died. You have to find out who it was, and it gives you clues about who a certain person was, and you have to look around on the map, find who it was, and you go, oh, I found where it was, and you flick it over, and you choose the answer, and you flick over the card. And, oh, okay, yes, this one, and you go to the next one, and like there's a whole bunch of scenarios of decks of cards you've got to do with this, and there's expansions where I think there's one expansion.
So this is out. Is it? It's
Oh
available.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It was nominated for, I can't remember, was it a Spiel des Jahres or Kenner Spiel? I can't remember.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure which one it was for. I think it lost to Paleo, which it's a co-op game, which I haven't played yet.
And how many? Do you know how many it can play? Or did you mention that?
Well, Micro Macro Crime City, basically it's a co-op, and anybody can play it. Any number of people can play it, and it's quite cheap as well. It's not expensive. So like definitely, it's the sort of game I would buy people for families for Christmas. And
it's just like a paper map kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's massive, it's huge, so much detail. And like if you've got bad eyesight, you need to have a what do you call it? Thing, Sherlock Holmes. You know, a lens. The name.
One of those things.
I'm almost finishing my wine, you see. Anyway,
that's deadly. Okay, that sounds like a cool one. I looked that one up. James, anything coming up that you're really?
Well, everything Colm mentioned, I'd love to play. He always has like lots of stuff. I've been pestering him, I think, for about 3 games nights now to play Dune Imperium. But the one upcoming game, I mentioned it briefly to you, Wayne, is it's a game called Brian Boru, High King of Ireland.
Yeah. I just spotted this myself this week. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so there isn't an awful lot of Irish themed games. Honestly, we're actually fairly decently represented when it comes to Irish. Inish is probably the most famous one, but there's also Irish Gauge, came out like 2 years ago.
There's a few, but I've always felt like, in terms of obviously our mythology and all this, there's so many good stuff in there.
Yeah, there could be a lot of stuff.
There's a few. I mean, there's a few, but you've mentioned Inish is obviously a very well known. But
it's probably the most well known, I think, of the Irish board games. Yeah. But this one, I think, immediately when I saw the map is Ireland. Mm-hmm. And each person, I think, is basically trying to unite Ireland under like one high king. Mm-hmm. And it's got trick taking in it, and players are drafting the cards that they're trick taking, and
it's an area control.
It's area control is like the main kind of mechanism of the game. You're basically you're trying to like conquer the towns and the provinces.
Just conquer, marry them off as well.
Yeah, marry, and then you have to like fight off Vikings, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I think the thing that interested me the most in it anyway was the trick taking part of it, where it's a deck from 1 to 25. You draft the cards, and then even if you don't win the trick, you still get an action, but the person who wins the trick gets a special action. I thought that was a really interesting way of doing it. And it's Ireland, so it immediately took my interest.
Is this on Kickstarter? Or is it
I don't think so, no.
Because I literally saw the ad this week on the feed. And it just caught my eye. The Irish team, number 1. A little look at the board, looked nice and colorful, and really nice. Yeah.
I think it's out any day now. It's like literally, if it's not on the boat, it should be here within the next month, I think.
You know who? It's not
Osprey. Osprey Publishing are doing it. Osprey. I wasn't sure about that one either.
They do a lot of war games.
They do war games, yeah. They Australian stuff like that as well. Yeah, it's interesting. I saw that as well. I saw watch it play before you play. I think they had I watched the playthrough of it. I thought I was really impressed with it. I have to say, it looks really beautiful as well. I have to say.
Yeah. I kind of stopped and went, "What's that?" You know,
it looks really good. Yeah. And as Irish people, obviously, we would be very, nice to see representation.
Nice to see a bit of,
yeah.
There are a few. I know there's a few RPGs that have touched on Irish mythology, but it's not been the focus. I'd love personally, and we're going to another conversation, I'd love to see an RPG that was focused on Celtic mythology. I'm not familiar on it. I know a few. There's a new one kind of called Vaesen, which I think touches a little bit on it. Anyway, so that's all a different thing. So that's pretty much it, lads. We've got our top 3 from each of you. Some recommendation coming up. So I guess at this point, I will just say thank you to you both for taking part in our little conversation tonight. We'll continue the movie podcast part when we finish this. But anyone watching
Top
out there,
3 Christmas movies.
Die Hard, yeah. No, I'm sorry, no,
I
let's not get
love that film. It's a great film. I actually watched it Christmas Eve. I always have a film Christmas Eve, and Die Hard was one of them.
Yeah, of course. So without further ado, what I do want to say is this is one of a series of little video things that we've done over the last year, because it was just kind of just a way to kind of involve people. We're not seeing each other as much as we'd like to, as much as everyone. So it's been nice to do these little video chats. There are a few that are up already. At the time of recording this, I have another one that's in the mix and due to pop up as well. So check those out. Check us out if you want. We're Sligo Gaming Society here in the northwest of Ireland, and we're fairly active even through all this. So in the meantime, I'll just say to everyone, be safe, be well, and we'll catch you again. Take care. Bye-bye.